collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Deluxe Class Gnaw from the Transformers Studio Series 86 line from Hasbro. The 86, of course, denoting that all of the characters in this subline are from the animated classic, The Transformers, the movie, released in 1986. Over here on this side, you can see the big 86 and then the little 08, making Gnaw the 8th in this line. You have some fun artwork here on the side, and then just kind of the same artwork, but a little bit, zoomed out on this side with the big 86. Not too much going on the top or bottom. And if we spin around to the back, you get to see the robot mode and the Sharkticon mode for Gnaw. So pretty standard packaging for this line. I'm going to go ahead and get him out of here, and we'll take a closer look. So here's Gnaw with the little backdrop that's included with the figure. I think it's pretty cool that they do this for the Studio Series, but I will say at this point, we've seen this Sharkticon pit at least 3 times now. I think we saw it with both Dinobots, and now we're seeing it again with Gnaw, albeit this one's scaled down a little bit to fit a deluxe figure. It just would have been nice to see a little something different on Quintessa, like maybe the jail cells, or have the thrones in the background with the Quintessons, or maybe the actual pit of water that they're swimming in. Just something, because I feel like it's just this same picture we've seen 3 times now. It's okay, and I think it is pretty cool that they include these backdrops, and if you have the room to display the figures with these, all more power to you. I certainly do not, but I've always thought it's kind of neat that they include these with the Studio Series figure. I just wish it was a little something new, because like I said, I feel like we've seen this one twice before. This is kind of the 3rd time for this one, so a little bland, little boring, but still pretty cool that it's included. So here is Gnaw out of the packaging. I think he looks pretty great. I really like the more subdued kind of matte finish paint scheme that he's got. I think it really works for him. I will say he's a little bit on the shorter side. Just to do a quick comparison, here is Kingdom's Sideswipe. So you can see he's definitely a shorter deluxe. The top of his backpack really only comes up to about Sideswipe's shoulders. So yeah, he's definitely a little bit smaller than most typical deluxes. I will say, I guess it kind of makes sense when you think about the Sharkticons and when they showed up on Quintessa. They're definitely short, squat foot soldiers, so I guess it makes kind of makes sense that they would be a little bit on the smaller side. But he still looks good. I really do like him. I think they have a lot of nice detailing in here. You can see some of the paint. You have a little bit of gold here, a little bit of gold here, red. The teeth are all painted very nicely. I really like the head sculpt. It's very simple, but it's got these really deep sunken eyes with the yellow just kind of painted there in the background. And it just kind of gives him a vacant kind of disturbing quality to his eyes. And I don't know, it's kind of neat, but it also it casts a lot of shadow. So most of the time you can kind of barely see the yellow. It is painted in there, but it just kind of makes it look almost like, he's dead inside, which is just kind of a creepy look for a foot soldier. I just think it kind of works. So I really like the head sculpt. I think they did a nice job there. Got a little bit of a backpack here, and there is a little bit of assembly that's needed out of the box. So this whole piece actually comes separate in the box, and I'll show you how this works. It's just kind of a track system. You can see right there, and it just kind of slides into here. So he's going to come in the box like this, and you just need to lift this section up so that you can go ahead and slide this piece through the track. If I can get this to line up now. Of course it's not going to. I guess you might have to start over here on this side, actually. So you'll slide this through, and then just kind of line that up there. And then this is going to come down, and then everything else is going to peg into place. And then you're good to go. So, bit of minor assembly. Oh, also you have to peg. This piece comes separate in the box as well. Simply just pegs right in there. Now, it's not going to peg all the way in the robot mode. So just be aware of that. But yeah, basically he looks pretty neat. Let's get into some articulation here. Now the head kind of naturally wants to get pushed in because that's what it does for the Sharkticon mode. So you kind of want to make sure you lift that up. And then that's kind of on a ball joint, so you can do side to side. You can do a little bit up and down. You can tilt a little bit to the side, but not a ton. You have a nice hinge and swivel here in the shoulder. You have a bicep swivel. You have 90 degrees in the elbow, as you can see. I don't think the wrist moves at all because you can see it obviously just folds into the forearm for the transformation, but he can hold the weapon pretty well, and it's a pretty nice little gun. I think that looks pretty cool. Of course, he also has the Sharkticon tail to use as a mace, just like the original toy, which I really enjoy. And that just pegs in. You can see that there's a little hinge. I'm going to take this out real quick. There's basically just a little hinge here for when it's in tail mode, just to give him a little bit of articulation. It's got the nice spike on the end, which looks very cool. And then when it comes down to the legs, you have a little bit, you can kind of kick out to the side. It's a little tight, but you can do it. Kick forward, obviously. You can kick back. He doesn't have any kind of butt flap or anything to stop that. You do have a thigh swivel. You have a little bit backwards bend in the knee, but then you have the normal 90-degree knee bend. And then you have a bend here where kind of these look like snow boots to me. I'm just going to be honest. He's got these big snow boots. You have a bend there, and then you also have an ankle tilt about halfway through, which I think looks a little weird because if you have him posed and he's just got this big empty space, I don't know, I kind of wish the tilt was like at the top of the boot. Then you wouldn't have this big glaring, empty space here, but you need it to bend for the transformation. You also have this little bit of movement here in the heel, but again, that's really just for the transformation. But yeah, he's got some pretty good articulation for robot mode. Definitely kind of a short, squat little foot soldier, but I like him. I think, like I said, I really like the color scheme. I think that really works. And the kind of more subdued colors, I think, strangely enough, just really work and really pop for this guy. And he looks really good. So let's go ahead. Let's get into the transformation. So starting off the transformation, I've gone ahead and taken his accessories out and put them off to the side. We will start with folding the hands into the forearms, as I previously mentioned. You're going to come around to the back. And this whole section is going to kind of lift up and just kind of flip around to the front. Now you can see here, if we move the arms out of the way, that there's kind of a seam that runs down the chest, and that's because this whole section actually is going to spin around like so, 180 degrees. Then you're going to lift this section up, and that's going to kind of stop about there. Make sure everything is straight. So that's going to stop around there. Then you're going to come around to this section. You're going to fold the back heels into the feet. You're going to fold the feet at those ski boots, like I mentioned earlier. Then you're going to fold it again, so that they're basically just kind of accordioning in on themselves. And then you can see that there are two large circle pegs right there, which are going to peg into the bottom of the feet. So we're going to flip this in, and that's going to peg in there, and that's going to peg in there. And that's kind of going to become the entire side of the Sharkticon. It actually really works out, and it kind of just really, really folds in well, and doesn't take up a lot of space. There's not really any gaps or anything. It's really nice. So this is going to come around. You can see that there is a little clasp, which is going to clip onto this little piece right here, as well as these two pegs are going to peg in here on the legs. So this is going to come up, they're going to peg into place, and then this is going to drop down and form kind of the entire back of the Sharkticon. You can go ahead and move that fin around 180. You're going to just bring the legs down and kind of put them into place. Now, you want to kind of push the head down in the mouth as far as you can. Unfortunately, it doesn't really hide away all that well. I mean, for the most part, you're probably only going to open the mouth about this wide. So you can still kind of see the head in there, but at least you're not seeing any, eyes or anything. But I do kind of wish that hid away a little bit better. And then you're going to just kind of bring the Sharkticon arms around. And I don't know if it's just me, but they seem a little high. And honestly, the hands end up kind of, getting mixed in with these spikes they have coming off the lower jaw. I kind of wish the hands were more in this area so that they could come down and be a little bit more separated out, but they just seem a little bit too close. They seem a little bit too high on the head. So I don't know, just me. I just think they would look better. I understand why they kind of have to be there for the transformation, but I think they would look better if they could be maybe more down in this area. But for the most part, I think he looks good. Take the tail, go ahead and peg that in here to the back, and you get that nice range of motion. There is a peg hole right here. If you would use this peg if you want to store the gun, you can peg that onto the side, which is nice. So overall, I think the Sharkticon mode looks good. I really love the paint for the eyes. I think that looks really sharp. And I think the whole mouth area looks really nice. I think they did a good job, painting the teeth and having this all look really, really nice. You get a little bit of motion here, so you have a swivel, and then you have a 90-degree bend in the elbow for the Sharkticon hands. And then really it's all the same articulation that was in the arms of the robot mode, but now they're just the back legs. So overall, I think it looks good. I really do. I think the Sharkticon looks good. Like I said, what they did with the legs here, making this really compact and kind of seamless, and it becomes the side of the Sharkticon. And yes, if you look at it long enough, you can tell that it's just his feet. But also, I kind of feel like the way they did the color scheme and everything, it's not ridiculously apparent that it's his feet. It kind of blends in well. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think they actually did a pretty good job with that. So overall, I think the transformation's fun. I think it works. I think this guy looks really good. I like that you have weapon storage for everything. I just wish those hands were a little bit further down. I think they're a little bit too high up, and or maybe just lose these spikes on the side, because I just feel like having these right next to each other, they kind of get lost in each other, and you know, it doesn't really work. But that's just my opinion. Otherwise, I think the Sharkticon mode is pretty great. So I think Gnaw is pretty great. Honestly, I really like the robot mode and the Sharkticon mode. They're not perfect. They both have their own little small things, but the robot mode I think looks great. I really like the color scheme. I think the articulation's great. The accessories are good. I like the head sculpt. He's kind of got those sunken eyes, which in certain light you can kind of see the yellow that's painted back there, but then in other light it just kind of looks like dark, vacantless eyes, and that's kind of creepy in its own right, which is kind of neat. The feet definitely look like little snow booties to me, I gotta be honest. And I think it's weird that the ankle tilt leaves like a lot of empty space like in the middle of his foot, which just looks a little unnatural. But again, not a big deal. There's a little bit of Sharkticon kibble on the back, but it really doesn't get in the way of anything, so I don't really think that's a problem. The accessories are great. Really, all around, I think it's a pretty excellent robot mode. Sharkticon mode, also really good. I think they did a nice job of having the robot legs really compact down and kind of seamlessly become part of the side of the Sharkticon. I mean, some people might say, what are you talking about? Those are his boots right there. And yes, the longer you look at them, it does kind of become apparent that it's his boots. But I think the way they kind of had like the solid blocks of color, it almost looks like it could be, you know, naturally the side of the Sharkticon. So I think they did a pretty good job with that. The two biggest things for me in the Sharkticon mode, I wish the head was hidden a little bit better. I really do wish that rotated more and hidden in the chest. That way it's not in his mouth, because the whole bit of the Sharkticon is that he eats other Transformers. So if you want to pose him eating other Transformers, you might want to have like them inside the mouth or have limbs hanging out or however you want to do it. And with that head in the way, it just kind of, you know, makes it not as great as it could be. So again, not a deal breaker, but just a little something. And also the Sharkticon arms, I wish they were a little bit lower. I get it because of the transformation, they kind of have to be where they are, but I wish they were a little bit lower just so it looked more natural, because the way they are now, when you bring the hands down, they're almost exactly even with these two spikes on the lower jaw, and so the hands kind of get lost. And it's just a little bit of a mess. But for the most part, I think it's pretty good. I really like both modes. I love the color scheme, good articulation. And I will say, we've had a couple Gnaws in recent years. The Titans Return one, I think we had a Cyberverse one as well. This is probably the best one that we've gotten in recent years. I really do like it a lot. Definitely army builder quality. I would say get 2 or 3 of these if you can. Definitely worth checking out. I mean, I guess you could always mix and match, but the other ones weren't really all on the same scale. So, you know, but yeah, you could have fun with it. But I think this is definitely the best Sharkticon that we've gotten so far. So I got this one on Amazon if you're looking for it. I've seen them on GameStop. I've seen them on, I think even Best Buy had them at one point. And they should be showing up in stores pretty soon. So it shouldn't be too hard to get a hand on one of these guys if you're in the market for them. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.